You know, before you go inside a lot of fun houses, the mirrors become so distracting that you stop recognizing the structure surrounding you. Well, that is what the construct of dominance and supremacy behaves like psychologically, a fun house. And what makes the construct dangerous is that it is fundamentally ineffective relationally, yet reproduces itself extremely effectively psychologically because the construct itself repeatedly produces imbalance, disconnection, violence, control, rigidity, corruption, division, exhaustion, and relational collapse. It is the opposite of peace, balance, harmony, mutuality, and relational coherence, yet it keeps reproducing itself. Why? Because people get trapped inside the funhouse. The recent conversations around voter registration, districting, power preservation, political corruption, and institutional maneuvering keep exposing the same thing. Publicly, the conversation becomes race, fraud, left versus right, black versus white, patriot versus traitor, identity, emotion, team loyalty, and outrage. That is the facade. That is the funhouse mirror layer. All the symbolic conflict functions as part of the facade while the construct of dominance and supremacy continues performing its primary function, the preservation of power. That is the actual observation. And the construct survives because it is architecturally disorienting by design. Inside the funhouse, perception gets distorted, reflections become warped, direction becomes confusing, and people become emotionally trapped reacting to appearances. Meanwhile, the actual construct remains largely unexamined, and the construct has support beams holding it upright: race, gender, religion, nationalism, class, identity itself. That doesn't mean those categories lack real world consequences. Far from it. The harm attached to those categories has shaped human lives materially, historically, economically, psychologically, and institutionally. That matters. Yet these categories also function structurally. They help stabilize the construct, and the support beams themselves get fastened into place through difference, ranking, separation, ownership, purity, authority, and exclusion. Those become the nuts and bolts, and then comes the facade, the aesthetics, the emotionally captivating surface layer: racial competition, gender wars, religious superiority, political tribalism, authority worship, identity performance, outrage cycles, heroes, villains, certainty, symbolic conflict, and people emotionally identify with these facades. That is why the construct reproduces itself so effectively psychologically, because the facade rewards people emotionally through certainty, belonging, superiority, validation, identity, self-importance, tribal attachment, and emotional gratification. So instead of reaching clarity, people keep reacting to distorted appearances inside the mirrors, and the energy becomes static because the energy never actually reaches the construct itself. It keeps bouncing off the facade, off the mirrors, off the outrage, off the identity performances, off the racial competition, off the gender wars, off the symbolic enemies, off the political theater, and off the emotional reaction. So instead of becoming clarity, focused examination, structural understanding, or collective reorganization, the energy becomes static. Reaction without movement, emotion without direction, outrage without interruption of the construct itself. That's a loop. This is why contradiction stops interrupting people logically. People can simultaneously condemn domination while reproducing domination, condemn corruption while defending corruption, condemn supremacy while imitating supremacy. When people emotionally identify with distorted appearances and perceptions, the contradictions stop interrupting the performance. And this is why the construct barely even needs to defend itself directly anymore. The facade does most of the labor. The mirrors do most of the labor. The emotional attachment does most of the labor. Meanwhile, the construct continues performing its primary function, the preservation of power, almost untouched by the static. That's the deeper issue I keep pointing to. Not merely these people are corrupt. Instead, people have become so emotionally trapped inside the funhouse that distorted appearances start feeling more real than the construct itself. And humanity cannot reorganize clearly while continuously mistaking distorted appearances for reality. Reality.